You may have been born into brokenness, rejection, poverty, or dysfunction. Maybe life handed you betrayal, hardship, or injustice. But let me tell you something fundamental to understanding destiny. Where you are right now is not a reflection of where you are meant to remain. Your present condition does not define your permanent position. Just because you're in the pit today doesn't mean you won't sit on the throne tomorrow. One of the greatest deceptions the enemy uses is to convince people that their environment equals their identity. But you are not your surroundings. You are not your mistakes. You are not what they did to you. You are what God deposited in you before the foundations of the world. You carry a seed of purpose that no prison can destroy. You may feel trapped externally, but internally, greatness is still alive. Your value is not reduced because of your current circumstances. It is hidden, protected, and being prepared. Joseph wore a prisoner's clothes, but he never let prison enter his heart. He was still a ruler even when he was behind bars. That's the key. Don't confuse your situation with your station. God can change a man's situation in one day, but he takes years to prepare his character. Some of you are being shaped right now in the dark, in the silent places, in the places no one celebrates, and you're wondering if anything good can come out of this. But the conditions of your now are just the tools of transformation. The dirt doesn't define the seed, it activates it. Just because you're buried under pressure doesn't mean you're finished. It means you're being rooted. And when the time is right, that hidden royalty within you will rise. Many people want the crown, but they resist the crushing. They desire the palace, but they avoid the process. Yet in the design of destiny, there is no throne without a journey through the wilderness. There is no leadership without testing, and there is no elevation without endurance. The palace requires a process, and that process is not optional. It is essential. It is not punishment, it is preparation. Before Joseph ever touched the golden robes of authority, he was stripped of his coat of favor. Before he was trusted with governing a nation, he was trusted with surviving betrayal, slavery, and imprisonment. Every step that looked like a setback was a divine setup. The journey from the pit to the palace is filled with delays, disappointments, and divine silence. It is in these moments that your motives are purified and your identity is clarified. In the process, you learn how to serve when no one is watching. You learn how to manage pain without losing purpose. You learn how to interpret dreams in prison before you command resources in the palace. God is not interested in merely placing people in positions of power. He is committed to forming people who can carry the weight of leadership without being crushed by it. The palace requires discipline, wisdom, and restraint, and these are not given on the throne. They are cultivated in the trials. If God gave you the throne without the training, the very thing meant to elevate you could destroy you. That is why the process is not a detour, it is the direct path. It teaches humility, patience, and stewardship. It teaches you how to listen to God, how to submit your ambition to His will, and how to lead with compassion rather than control. The palace cannot be inherited prematurely. Purpose does not begin when you reach the throne. It begins the moment you are born. Even in the lowest places of life, purpose remains active. In the pit, when everything is stripped away, when your reputation is gone and your freedom is taken, purpose still speaks. It whispers in the dark, reminding you that where you are is not who you are. Joseph was thrown into a pit, sold as a slave, falsely accused, and locked away. Yet purpose continued to guide him. He never allowed the pit to cancel the dream. He never surrendered his internal vision to external circumstances. When a person understands purpose, they no longer need applause to move forward. They no longer wait for the perfect environment to start operating in their gift. Joseph continued to interpret dreams in prison because he understood that purpose is not seasonal. It is eternal. It does not rise and fall with approval. It is not limited by location. Whether in the palace or the pit, the assignment remains the same: to serve, to lead, to influence, and to glorify God. The pit is not the end of the story. It is part of the training ground. It is where you learn to depend on vision more than validation. It is where you develop strength, not from recognition, but from revelation. Purpose gives meaning to pain and direction in confusion. Without purpose, the pit feels like punishment. But with purpose, the pit becomes preparation. It becomes a classroom where your heart is tested, your motives are refined, and your resilience is built. Purpose is what allows you to stand up when everything pushes you down. It gives you the courage to endure betrayal, injustice, and delay. It makes the process bearable because the vision ahead is greater than the weight behind. Your gift is the divine tool planted in you before you were born, and it was designed to open doors no man can shut. But a gift that is hidden, ignored, or buried in fear cannot fulfill its assignment. Joseph did not wait for the palace to use his gift. He exercised it in the prison, serving men who had nothing to offer him in return. He interpreted dreams not from a platform, but from a place of pain. That is the power of a gift fueled by purpose. It refuses to stay dormant no matter the environment. The gift is not limited by location. It is only limited by obedience. Too many people are waiting to be discovered before they activate what's already within them. They think the platform gives power to the gift, but it is the gift that makes the platform necessary. When you use your gift in secret, in service, in silence, that's where true greatness is formed. Joseph's gift did not fail in prison because it was never designed to function based on recognition. His gift created a ripple effect that reached the ears of Pharaoh, even though he was still in chains. That's the supernatural law of gifting. It attracts divine attention when used with faithfulness. Your gift will speak for you when your voice is silenced. It will represent you when you are forgotten. It is your divine credential in places where your background may disqualify you. But the gift must be sharpened, stewarded, and submitted to the will of God. It must be used with humility and purpose, not pride or ambition. When you serve others with your gift, even in dark places, you position yourself for divine exposure. A buried gift is like a sealed treasure. It holds power, but no influence. Until it is released through service, it cannot fulfill its reason for existence. True kingship does not begin with a crown on your head. It begins with a kingdom in your mind. The measure of royalty is not external appearance, but internal authority. Before Joseph was ever seated beside Pharaoh, he ruled over his emotions, his bitterness, and his desire for revenge. He governed himself before he was trusted to govern a nation. This is the principle of internal dominion. If you cannot rule over your spirit, you cannot be trusted to rule over a city. And the journey to kingship begins with learning to master the unseen battles within. The kingdom within you is a mindset rooted in identity and responsibility. It understands that leadership is not about control, but about stewardship. It knows that position without purpose is powerless. Many chase titles, but they have no inner throne. They look like royalty on the outside, but are still slaves to insecurity, fear, or unforgiveness on the inside. But a true king thinks differently. A true king speaks with vision, acts with discipline, and lives with clarity of purpose. Kings don't react to pressure. They respond with wisdom. The culture of the world teaches you to chase platforms, but the kingdom culture teaches you to cultivate character. Until you believe that you are royalty, you will live beneath your calling. You may walk in chains, but if your mind is renewed, you are already free. Your location does not determine your identity. Your revelation does. Joseph never stopped thinking like someone destined for more, even when everything around him said otherwise. The world changes when people rise up with the mindset of kings, individuals who know who they are, who they serve, and why they were born. The palace will not make you royal. It only reveals what has already been formed within you over time. Forgiveness is not a sign of weakness. It is the mark of a ruler. It takes greater strength to release what hurt you than to retaliate against it. When Joseph stood before the very brothers who betrayed him, sold him, and caused years of pain, he had the power to punish them. He had the authority to sentence them, to reject them, to give them exactly what they gave him. But instead, he chose a higher road, the road of redemption. He wept, embraced them, and provided for them. That moment did not make him a king. It revealed he already was one. True kingship is not about power over others. It is about power over self. Anyone can dominate when given a position, but only those with healed hearts can lead with compassion. Joseph understood that his suffering was not simply the result of their cruelty, but part of God's larger plan. He saw purpose where others saw pain, and that vision allowed him to forgive without condition. He said, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." That is not the voice of a victim. That is the voice of a king who sees beyond betrayal. Forgiveness unlocks the full authority of your calling. Unforgiveness chains your soul to your past, but forgiveness releases you into your future. When Joseph forgave, he broke the cycle battle of generational dysfunction. He refused to let bitterness infect his leadership. He fed the very mouths that once conspired against him. That is kingdom leadership, responding to hatred with healing, to rejection with restoration. The throne is not given to those who crave revenge, but to those who walk in mercy. Authority becomes dangerous when placed in the hands of the bitter, but it brings life when held by the healed. Kings build bridges, not prisons.